will MAGA and Trump be successful in going to federal court up to the United States Supreme Court and blocking special counsel Jack Smith from releasing the report, the final report he is mandated by law to prepare and deliver to the Attorney General on the Mar-a-Lago and the D.C. election interference criminal cases, outlining in grueling detail, in gory detail, all of the crimes that Donald Trump committed, the ones that they decided not to prosecute him for, the unindicted co-conspirators, all of that. Can Donald Trump and MAGA block it being published? That is what we're going to talk about on this particular hot take. You're on the new Legal AF YouTube channel now more than ever. We need you here with us at this intersection of law and politics, a thoroughfare through our democracy that's important but needs your support. Hit the free subscribe button. And I'm Michael Popak again at the intersection. We know that a report is being drafted as I speak. We know that Jack Smith has let it be known that he is leaving, and he will leave town and wrap up his investigation and put a period, a final period on the last page, last word of that final report. I think there'll be 2 of them. And it has to be done within the next about 4 weeks in order for them to be vetted through the national intelligence community, be delivered to Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland has said, like he did with Joe Biden's special counsel, that he is going to publish this report to the American people and make it public. And I think along with that goes all the secret grand jury testimony, everything that was being protected because of an ongoing criminal investigation. It's over. The Supreme Court said game over. The election said game over. Everybody pardoned. I mean, not yet, but they will be. So release everything to the public. The public demands a seat at the table in our public criminal justice system. So how does Donald Trump stop it? You know that Donald Trump and his henchmen don't want this report to come out, especially as he's basking in the glow of his victory on last Tuesday. It's going to chap his backside in order, and he doesn't want that to happen. Now, they're going to argue in some filing that they're going to make after Merrick Garland says, I'm going to be releasing the report, or maybe in advance, knowing that he's going to release the report. They're going to have to go to D.C. Circuit Court, which is the trial court level in D.C., because that's where everything's happening. They can't run to Texas, which I know they'd love to. And they're going to get a moderate judge, maybe a democratically appointed judge. And the judge they're going to make the following arguments. Here, we can hear it now. Oh, the Presidential Transition Act of 1963 says you can't impede or impair the presidency during the transition period. And this will impair and impede and make our guy look bad. This will put a dark shadow on him and undermine his abilities and his powers, his constitutional powers under Article 2 of the Constitution. This is an impairment of the Article 2 powers and functions. Right, because the guy was a criminal who was prosecuted and indicted by not one, by 2 grand juries related to these matters, actually 3 grand juries related to this matter. And that's just, that them's the breaks, as we used to say on the playground. But they're going to argue this to a D.C. judge. And I think that D.C. judge is going to go fast, just to give you the timeline. We're already here. The new Congress comes in on January 3. January 6th is a certification by the new Congress. It's sort of weird because they come in on January 3, but the vice president stays in, Kamala Harris, as the president of the Senate because J.D. Vance hasn't been sworn in yet. Weird. It's a weird 2 weeks. Let's just put it like that. It's a hybrid government. It's a little bit lame duck, and then the new people coming in celebrating, popping champagne corks. So they're going to come in, right, on Jan 3. Trump certified president-elect Jan 6th, Jan 20 sworn in. Jack Smith's got to wrap this up. I mean, it's going to be a 150-page report, probably 2 of them. And then he's got to vet it. And then he's got to deliver it to his boss. And that is by statute. That is the Office of the Special Counsel has roles. And in those reports, he has mandatory things he's got to talk about. Why he prosecuted this particular person for these particular crimes. Why he didn't prosecute him for other crimes. Why are they felonies and not misdemeanors? What evidence supported these decisions? The prosecutorial discretion that was exercised. I think there's going to be a section on why are there 6 unindicted co-conspirators not named? We all know who they are in the D.C. election interference case. Giuliani, Boris Epstein, Jeff Clark, et cetera, et cetera. Why did that happen? And then there's going to have to be a section on we were prepared to try the case and win the case and carry our burden beyond a reasonable doubt against Donald Trump in 2 places, except we hit a roadblock with a Trump-appointed judge in Aileen Cannon, who dismissed it with an unconstitutional finding and analysis. And we're ready to go to trial in D.C. election interference until the election. That's sort of the wrap-up. Now, let's just do the timeline. He delivers that in the next 2 weeks. I think Thanksgiving or just after, Merrick Garland has it, and certainly before Christmas, he decides to release it. Now, already knowing that Merrick Garland's on record as saying he's going to release it, the lawyers for MAGA and Donald Trump, especially Emile Beauvais and Todd Blanche, his two criminal defense lawyers, who are going to be in the administration. They're going to be in the White House counsel's office. We haven't picked the Attorney General yet, Todd Blanche, or White House counsel's been picked, but deputy White House counsels and other lawyers for different cabinet positions, are out there. These guys they're fresh off their wins and they're cocky too. The United States Supreme Court in July, they won a huge thing for Donald Trump on immunity, and they're going to end up not getting their client sentenced in New York based on the rate that it's going. So you can see these guys drafting the papers. We represent Donald Trump, the 45th and future 47th President of the United States. People have spoken. There are constitutions to be abided by. There are Presidential Transition Act laws to be abided by. We can't let anything impair or impede the presidency, the office of the presidency. Forget the guy. It's the office of the presidency that matters in our co-equal branches of government with checks and balance. And Article 2 powers are supreme, and the court has said that with the immunity decision. Don't allow the publication of the report. You can see this. Block it from being released to the public. I mean, I know people are like, Popok, don't give him any ideas. Trust me, they have these ideas already. I'm just telling you in advance. Okay? I'll tell you when it's a new idea. I'll whisper it to you. I'll send it to you in an email. So that is going to happen. A first level judge, federal judge, trial judge, and district court judge in DC is going to say, no, there is competing interest here. I don't buy he's going to have a big black mark against him and it undermines the office of the presidency. He may not like it personally as the person occupying the office, but that's different than undermining or impairing the constitutional powers of the presidency or in transition. Then that'll go up to the DC Court of Appeals, which leans moderate or to the left. And they're going to go, no, the report is separate. The crimes that were committed or alleged before he became president or the American people saw fit to elect him is a whole different story, ball of wax. And then it goes to the Chief Justice Roberts, who sits over the DC Court of Appeals as the first kind of person to consider whether there's going to be an appeal here or not. Because this is going to move fast. They're going to file something maybe before Thanksgiving and ask for emergency relief. And we'll see what the DC court does. And if they don't get it, they'll run to the Supreme Courts and ask for emergency relief. It's got to be, he can't go in on January 20th with all of this hanging over his head or impairing the office of the presidency. Now, if you would have asked me a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, what the Supreme Court would have done, I said, no, they're not going to benefit the guy named Donald Trump and undermine our entire 200 years of constitutional principles. This isn't even a separation of powers issue. This is the executive branch of one president versus the executive branch or the presidency coming in. This is Article 2 versus Article 2 of the Constitution. This isn't separation of powers. But the way this Supreme Court and the MAGA right wing with Gorsuch, Alito, Thomas, and Roberts says like a puppy dog following behind, the way they've been talking at oral argument and issuing their decisions, I don't know what's going to happen. And I think it's more than 50-50 that this Supreme Court finds 4 votes for an appeal, 5 votes to find that under these extraordinary, unprecedented circumstances, where the person who is the subject of the report issued by the special counsel, even though it doesn't say that in the statute, is the elected representative of the people and the office, the embodiment of the office of the presidency. We can't let anything impair the core constitutional functions, putting our country at risk. The report is blocked. I mean, can't you see that? I mean, we had people positing during the Supreme Court oral argument, like Gorsuch and Alito, as if they were ordering a tuna fish sandwich or a yogurt at lunch. Well, I wonder if the president could, as commander-in-chief, use SEAL Team 6 to take out an adversary. Would that be a crime? Could he sell pardons? He does have pardon power. He Could he self-pardon? Gorsuch said that would be interesting. I mean, I felt like I was watching an old, for those that are kind of my vintage, I thought I was watching an old George Carlin stand-up routine when he used to play the 11 or 12-year-old Catholic school kid asking questions of the teacher. Hey, Fada, can God make a rock so big that even he can't lift? I mean, this is what I was watching with the U.S. Supreme Court. So could they file the suit? Yes. Do they lose at 2 levels? Absolutely. Does MAGA and Trump prevail again at the United States Supreme Court and block the report? It could happen. And I want you to be prepared for it. What can we do about it? To be frank, not much. Not much. We can put pressure on them, but they're going to try to block that report. Now we also have to rely, I know people are thinking, oh, great, this whole thing runs through Merrick Garland, who nobody has confidence in because he let this thing linger for over a year before he appointed the special counsel, or do it himself. Should have been a DIY, do-it-yourself prosecution by the main justice, not waiting around for a special counsel and Donald Trump to announce that he was running for office. They're like, he's the guy that's got to kick this whole thing off? Great. I think he will. I think that part I'm less concerned about because he's announced that he's going to do it. Now, whether he gets blocked or he steps into another trap, that's another story. But will he make the policy decision consistent with the law and the requirements of the law, of the special counsel's office law? Yeah. Supreme Court's going to have to go, yes, but if we're interpreting that statute of Congress to mean that the special counsel's report can be published even if it compromises core constitutional Article 2 functions, then that's an unconstitutional interpretation. I mean, that's my ponderous, white guy Supreme Court justice, impersonation. But that's how it's going to run. I'll continue to follow it. I'm glad you're here. Can't do it without you, literally. Thanks for subscribing. 30,000 people joined us since last Tuesday. And that just shows me that I've got a tremendous responsibility, and I take it seriously at that intersection of law and politics. So until my next reporting, I'm Michael Popok here on the Legal AF channel. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.